Dinosaurs with such a wild variety of shapes and sizes, they make today's animals look a bit ordinary in comparison. But let's be real, dinosaurs weren't just amazing, they were downright weird. Take Spinosaurus, for instance. This massive predator had a towering sail on its back, taller than most NBA players. Or think about Stegosaurus, rocking a row of bony plates and spiky tail weapons we now call thagomizers. Dinosaurs didn't just walk the earth, they strutted with style. And while that strangeness helped cement some of them in pop culture forever, here's the thing: with over 700 recognized species, there are a lot of dinosaurs most people have never even heard of. Which is kind of a shame, because believe it or not, some of the weirdest, wildest creatures from the Mesozoic era are the ones hiding in the shadows of T-Rex and Triceratops. Let's talk about Deinonychus, a dinosaur that most people have probably never heard of. This little theropod roamed in China during the late Cretaceous, and at first glance, it didn't seem all that special. But once you looked at its arms, things got weird. Really weird. While many theropods are known for having tiny arms, nothing quite compares to Deinonychus. Why? Because it's the only dinosaur we've ever found with just one functional finger, a single second digit. That's it. And it gets better or stranger, depending on how you look at it. Among all the Alvarezsaurids, the group Deinonychus belonged to it had the most reduced arm structure ever seen. The limb was so small and stubby, with a lone claw at the end, that it looked more like a pair of little cones sticking out from its chest than actual arms. So next time someone makes a joke about T-Rex or Carnotaurus having laughable arms, just remind them, Deinonychus is the king of tiny limbs. Naturally, scientists were baffled by these arms. For a while, the go-to explanation was that they were useless leftovers of evolution. But more recent studies, especially comparisons with its close relatives, suggest otherwise. Turns out, those tiny arms were probably tools. Perfect for one specific job. Deinonychus was likely an insect eater, and those single-digit limbs may have been used to tear open ant and termite mounds, much like how modern anteaters do it today. Its teeth also back up this theory. They were small and needle-like, ideal for munching on bugs. And apparently this odd design worked, because Deinonychus stuck around for a while, with fossils showing it lived from about 75 to 71 million years ago. Tiny arms aren't the only oddity we see in the dinosaur world. In fact, around 90 million years before Deinonychus showed up with its baby cone arms, there was another dinosaur creeping through the forests, one that had the exact opposite issue. Now, you might be thinking of the Therizinosaurs, those infamous long-clawed theropods. But here's the twist: Epidexipteryx wasn't part of that group. Its claws weren't particularly long, but its fingers sure were. So much so, in fact, the people have jokingly compared it to a certain nightmare haunting movie character with razor hands. But unlike Freddy Krueger, Epidexipteryx wasn't scary, it was downright tiny. This dinosaur belonged to a group called the Maniraptorans, which includes animals more closely related to birds. And much like birds, it was small, fully grown adults were only about the size of a pigeon. That's quite the contrast, considering most dinosaurs weighed about as much as a small elephant. Now, given its bird-like size and long fingers, it'd be natural to assume those arms had something to do with flying. After all, plenty of other small dinosaurs and early birds had wing-like structures. But interestingly, Epidexipteryx wasn't built to fly. Fossil evidence suggests it had no wing feathers and no wing membranes, which means those extra long fingers were fully exposed, and they likely served a very different purpose. Paleontologists think this tiny creature was highly adapted for climbing, using its long fingers to latch onto tree trunks and branches. That arboreal lifestyle would have made it easy to search for food like bugs, worms, and larvae hiding in the trees. It may have even used those freaky fingers to peel bark off trees to get to its next meal. Adding to the weird factor, its teeth. Epidexipteryx only had teeth in the front of its jaw, long, narrow, and perfect for picking at prey with extreme precision. And as if that wasn't strange enough, the tail sported a set of long, ribbon-like feathers. They weren't used for flying, but likely for display or balance. Imagine seeing that slinking through the forest in the dark like something straight out of a fantasy story. But believe it or not, things are about to get even weirder. Ankylosaur. This next dinosaur is a real head-scratcher, because some scientists believe it may have been a semi-aquatic ankylosaur that hunted prey. That's right, a swimming, meat-eating member of a group we usually picture as armored, slow-moving plant munchers. Let's rewind to how this oddball came to light. Like many of the other bizarre dinos on this list, This one was also discovered in China and lived during the early Cretaceous period. Since its initial discovery, paleontologists have uncovered over 20 individual specimens, with some fossils preserved in incredibly good condition. Based on skeletal and dental traits, it was quickly placed in the Ankylosaur family, the same group known for their tank-like bodies and tail clubs. But right away, researchers noticed something was off. One particularly well-preserved specimen had fossilized stomach contents, and those contents weren't leaves. They included fish and small reptiles. That discovery threw everything into question. Ankylosaurs weren't supposed to eat meat. Further study revealed even more strange details. Its teeth had tiny forked structures on top, and its claws were unusually sharp. These clues strongly suggested it wasn't just occasionally snacking on meat. It may have been at least partially carnivorous. But things got even more interesting. The scientists who described it proposed that it might have lived partly in water. One of their main reasons. They believed it had a bony plate under its belly, possibly to protect it from attacks while swimming. They also pointed out that its hips weren't fully fused to its spine, a trait they believed would allow more flexible, paddle-like leg movement, something helpful in aquatic environments. Naturally, these bold claims weren't accepted by everyone. Critics argued that the so-called underbelly plate might not have existed at all, and that the lack of spinal fusion was more likely due to the fact that the specimens were juveniles. After all, the largest skeleton found so far measures just 1.5 feet, or half a meter, in length. However, defenders of the aquatic hypothesis claim that the 1.5 feet are actually fully grown adults, and that the even smaller ones, some shorter than a school ruler, were their babies. Regardless of whether it liked to swim or not, this mysterious dino still made history. It holds the title of being the oldest known ankylosaur, and it's the first in the group confirmed to have a tail club, a feature usually associated with much later, much larger species. Maybe future fossil discoveries will finally give us a clearer answer, but for now, this little armored enigma remains one of the weirdest dinos we've ever found. Up next is a dinosaur so bizarre it had scientists scratching their heads for years. Meet Chilsaurus, a prehistoric oddball that roamed the lands of what is now Chile during the late Jurassic period. Its name, Chilsaurus, obviously pays tribute to the country where it was found. But honestly, a more fitting name might have been something like Chimerasaurus, because this dino was a real-life mashup, sporting features from multiple dinosaur groups. When paleontologists first uncovered its remains, they were completely thrown off. Chilsaurus had physical traits associated with theropods, sauropodomorphs, and ornithischians, all wrapped up in one small, herbivorous package. At first glance, it looked a lot like a typical theropod, the group famous for predators like Velociraptor and T-Rex. So it was originally placed in the basal part of the theropod family tree. But the more researchers studied it, the stranger it got. For starters, it had arms and legs similar to sauropodomorphs, long-necked, heavy-bodied dinosaurs like Brachiosaurus. Then, things got even weirder when they discovered that its hip structure looked almost identical to that of a Stegosaurus, placing it closer to ornithischians, a group known for armored and beaked plant eaters. In fact, its mix of traits was so confusing that paleontologists originally believed they'd discovered 3 separate dinosaurs, only to later realize it was all part of one unusual creature. Because of its stegosaur-like hips, some more recent evolutionary diagrams or cladograms now suggest Chilsaurus might not have been a theropod at all, but instead a highly unusual type of ornithischian. So what's the deal with the sauropod-style limbs? Scientists think that could be a case of convergent evolution when unrelated animals evolve similar traits. In Chilsaurus' case, its strong arms and large, extendable claws may have been its main defense, useful for slashing at threats or competing for resources. Its teeth were just as unique. They were spatula-shaped, elongated and pointed forward, unlike most other dinosaurs. This suggests it was a dedicated plant eater, likely feeding on soft vegetation. Despite all the confusion it's caused, Chilsaurus wasn't a giant. It measured around 3 meters 10 feet from nose to tail and weighed only about 200 pounds. While scientists are still debating exactly where it fits on the dinosaur family tree, one thing is clear: Chilsaurus is one of the strangest blends of features ever found in a single dinosaur. Yichi. Some dinosaurs baffle us just by the way they look, and Yichi is the perfect example of that. At first glance, this tiny theropod from the late Jurassic forests of what is now China might seem similar to one we've already talked about, Epidexipteryx. After all, both had unusually long fingers, but you took things to an entirely different level. Unlike its cousin, Ye's elongated fingers weren't just for climbing. They appeared to support a wing-like membrane, much like what we see in bats today. And while it also had evidence of feathery covering, this dinosaur didn't resemble anything close to a bird. Instead, it looked like something straight out of a myth, which is why it's often called the dragon dinosaur. The structure of its wings was especially fascinating. A modified wrist bone helped stretch a leathery membrane across its limbs, not unlike a bat's wings. This gave Yichu a strange but elegant look that set it apart from any other dinosaur. Now, before you picture it soaring through the sky like a miniature dragon, it's worth noting, Yichi wasn't capable of powered flight. Its muscles weren't strong enough to flap wings and stay airborne. Instead, scientists believe it used its wings to glide, similar to modern flying squirrels leaping from tree to tree in search of food or safety. Much like other members of the Scansauropterid family, Yichi likely lived a tree-dwelling lifestyle, feasting on insects among the dense canopies. And yet again, we see China proving to be a treasure trove for uncovering nature's weirdest and most fascinating prehistoric creatures. But while its wings may have helped it thrive at first, they might have also played a part in its downfall. Yichi shared its environment with early birds and pterosaurs, both of which were far more efficient flyers. These aerial rivals could have outcompeted Yichi, making survival harder over time. Still, Yichi left behind more than just mystery. It gave us one of the rare glimpses into dinosaur coloration. Under a powerful electron microscope, researchers found eumelanosomes in its fossilized feathers, pigments that suggest its body was likely a dark brown or black. This color might have helped it blend into the shadows of trees, providing camouflage from predators and helping it sneak up on prey. So while it wasn't a fire breather, Yichi may be the closest thing we'll ever find to a real-life dragon gliding through prehistoric forests, with wings unlike anything else we've seen. Scythe-Clawed. When it comes to camouflage, some creatures are experts. But even the best disguise couldn't hide the truly odd feature of Scythe-Clawed, its teeth. From a distance, it seemed like just another oviparous theropod from the early Cretaceous in China, not too different from other dinosaurs in its family. But those teeth, they were anything but ordinary. In fact, they've been compared to the teeth of rodents, earning Scythe-Clawed the nickname rat teeth. What made them so strange? Primarily the front teeth. They were flattened and buck-shaped, resembling something more often seen in rodents than in dinosaurs. This odd tooth structure caused confusion among paleontologists, leaving them to wonder just what kind of diet this creature might have had. To make things even more complicated, the eating habits of oviraptorosaurs like Scythe-Clawed have been debated for years. At first, experts believed it might have been an omnivore. But after a deeper look at the wear patterns on its teeth, the true nature of its diet became clearer: herbivore. Despite its initial appearance, this rodent-like dinosaur preferred plant material. Here's where it gets even more bizarre: the power behind its bite. Its jaws were incredibly strong, capable of exerting a bite force comparable to a dinosaur weighing 33 times its body mass. For a creature weighing about 4.5 kilograms, 10 pounds, that's the same amount of force exerted by a 150 kilogram, 333-pound dinosaur. Why such power in those odd teeth? Paleontologists believe that the Scythe-Clawed had a specialized niche, allowing it to feed on especially tough plants. However, it's also possible that its powerful bite helped it scavenge meat when the opportunity arose. And with Scythe-Clawed, wrapping up our list of strange, lesser-known dinosaurs, there's one more I want to mention: the Deinocheirus. While this theropod isn't exactly a household name, it's definitely a unique specimen. It holds the title of being the largest known dinosaur to have provided direct evidence of feathers. This discovery came from not one, but 3 different specimens, each showing feather imprints on parts of their body like the feet, pelvis, tail, neck, and arms. This widespread feather coverage suggests that Deinocheirus was well insulated. Paleontologists believe these feathers might have helped regulate body temperature, a theory supported by the environment in which it lived. The Deinocheirus roamed the Yixian Formation during the early Cretaceous, an area known for its temperate forests similar to what we see in Western Canada today. With extreme seasonal changes and heavy snowfall, feathers would have been crucial for keeping warm. Some researchers even speculate that the feathers of Deinocheirus might have been light in color, which could have helped it blend into its environment. As for its place in the family tree, the Deinocheirus is thought to belong to the Parasaurolophus family, and it was one of the largest members of this group. The specimens suggest it grew up to 9 meters, 30 feet, long and weighed around 1.5 tons. For comparison, this size puts it on par with the Olorosaurus, giving it the ability to hunt a wide range of prey including ceratopsians, oviraptorosaurs, and perhaps even sauropods. The fact that all 3 recovered Eutyranus skeletons were found together hints that this theropod might have hunted in packs, a rare behavior among theropods. So, if you're looking for strange and fascinating dinosaurs, China seems to be a goldmine. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on more epic dinosaur discoveries. Drop a comment and let me know which dinosaur you found the most fascinating or strange. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more incredible dino facts coming your way soon.